Alright, Snake Eyes has released, so now I'm going to rank all 3 G.I. Joe films from worst to best. I'm not including the animated G.I. Joe movie because that was not in theaters. That was direct-to-video, so I don't really count it. Sorry. So, alright, so coming in at last place is G.I. Joe Retaliation. It feels like the movie was told out of order. Like, the stuff that's good about Retaliation is Cobra Commander's costume looks a lot better than it did in the first movie because it looks like the cartoon. And the idea of, Cobra takes over the government and Zartan disguises himself as the president and is influencing all of the world governments to destroy all their nukes so that Cobra can take over and make like this one world Cobra government. That's really good stuff. That feels like Captain America the Winter Soldier, that kind of stuff. But that's the end of the movie. That's how the movie should have started. Because up to that point, the movie's just not good. Let's kill off all of the main characters except for Snake Eyes, but we'll screw him up, and I'll get to that in a second. But, it feels like all the plot threads that were set up in the first movie are not explored. There was some really interesting stuff you could have explored in this movie that was set up in the first movie. For example, Baroness does not realize that her brother that she thought was dead is Cobra Commander, who she is working for. This could have been a really interesting thing to explore. Does she find out that her brother is Cobra Commander, and does she stay on his side because of that? Or does she join Duke and they team up to take down her brother? Or, I don't know, you could have explored this, but you didn't. And, we set up Destro at the end of the movie. And we're going to kill Destro off as soon as we introduce him in this movie. That was another problem. Let's kill off all the main characters like Duke and, basically everyone else. And we're not even going to acknowledge all the other characters from the first movie. We're not going to acknowledge what happened to Scarlet. We're not going to acknowledge what happened to Ripcord, who was Duke's battle buddy in the first movie. Now he's replaced with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What happened to Ripcord? We don't know. None of this is ever explained. It's just a vehicle to peddle Dwayne Johnson. While he is very good in this movie, it feels like a Dwayne Johnson movie, like a generic Dwayne Johnson action movie and not a G.I. Joe movie. And then they throw Bruce Willis in there at the last second. And then what they do with Snake Eyes is they screw up his backstory. The first one, he had a really interesting dynamic with Storm Shadow, where, they were raised together and, he was promoted faster than Storm Shadow, so Storm Shadow killed his master. No, turns out it was Zartan who killed their master, and Storm Shadow was framed. Like, no, you took one of the most interesting parts about Rise of Cobra and you screw it up. And the other thing is, they took Lady J, who's already a really cool character on her own. In the cartoons and comics, she can speak any language, she's a master of disguise, she's a computer hacker, she's a mime, she has all these really cool skill sets, and none of this is explored. And her entire backstory in Retaliation is she joined the army because her dad was sexist and she wanted to prove that a woman could protect him. You already had a cool character without any of that stuff being an aspect. And no. You screwed this up. I was like, and I didn't even know that much about the character. I had to research this character. I was like, I don't know that much about G.I. Joe, but I'm pretty sure that's not her backstory. That seems a little modernized. I looked it up and I'm like, yeah. And I read it was like, oh, she has all this cool stuff. Like, she fought an Autobot. That's really good. None of this is ever explored. It's a very weak movie. Characters are terribly written. It's just all over the place movie. Coming in second place is Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is much better than Retaliation because it feels like somebody who actually knew the source material. They took some creative liberties with the backstory, but I was fine with them. I thought the story was actually very good. It was a little familiar. My one complaint is it is a little bit disconnected from G.I. Joe, while at the same time also trying to set up other movies that probably won't happen. But overall, it was still a very enjoyable movie, even if the plot was a little too familiar. I thought the main actor that got to play Snake Eyes was very good. He was charming. He was funny. The action was well done. His dynamic with Storm Shadow was fantastic. I think Baroness was a little miscast, or at least maybe misdirected. I don't know what the problem was. I don't know if she was the problem or if it was the director. I think maybe Scarlet was a little too young, but other than that, I thought it was a pretty solid G.I. Joe movie. Maybe that's just because Retaliation was so bad in comparison. But coming in first place is Rise of Cobra. I know a lot of people have problems with the fact that they have futuristic mech suits, But I thought in the context of this world that's already been established, it fit. Because the opening scene of the movie is McCullen, basically showing off all of these nuclear warheads and these nanobites that can eat through metal. That's a pretty futuristic tech thing. So establish this either takes place in the future, or at least, the Army has all this technology that's so advanced that it fits. I mean, in the cartoon, they had Star Wars blasters, and yeah, that was because you couldn't show gunfire on a kids' TV show back then, but at the same time, it was futuristic, and so I think the mech suit stuff actually was pretty cool, and it did fit, given the fact that we had already kind of set up that there is a lot of futuristic technology in this movie. It wasn't like it was completely out of nowhere, because there's futuristic technology throughout the entire film. And I thought that Channing Tatum was very good as Duke. I actually was fine with the fact that they made him kind of a noob instead of, the disgruntled leader. I like the fact this was essentially kind of Duke's origin story. And it's a shame that they screwed it up in Retaliation by basically killing him off, 10 minutes in, which was a shame. I thought everybody was really good. I thought Snake Eyes was very interesting. I thought the entire cast really did a good job. I don't really have any problems with this movie, and I think the twist aspect of Cobra Commander being Duke's friend in the war who, was kind of captured and turned into Cobra Commander, that was actually really interesting. I know a lot of people have a problem with that. I didn't. And because when you think about it, Duke's ex-girlfriend who works for Cobra now is working for her brother that she thought dead, which is the very reason she joined Cobra in the first place. So it's kind of ironic. And they could have explored this in the second movie and they didn't, which was a shame. But overall, I think G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, very good G.I. Joe movie. It's a very solid film, and it comes in at number 1.